Hello, beautiful people. Okay, so today I'm going to go live with Lashawn Harris. I'm going to give you guys some time to log in. And let me put in the comments. Hey, you guys. Hey. So I'm about to go live with Lashawn to discuss mental health. And I'm waiting for her to log in. Hey, girl. Okay, I'm about to connect her on in here. Let's see. Let's view. Okay. Yes. Hey, girl. Putting in our caption. I'm putting in the comments for those who join us. They'll see that we're going live to discuss mental health.
All right.
And leave a question for the end. Hey, Flo. Oh, my fellow PR sisters on here. So, Lashawn, Flo Eston, she's actually a mental health advocate as well.
Hi, Flo.
Flo, this is definitely someone for you to get in touch with. She's in Atlanta. Well, I'm going to do her intro in a second. In this. Okay. Pin comment. There we go.
There we go.
Okay.
I might have to get used to using all this stuff because I never
use it. Girl. So, just a quick hey everybody that's joining in. I'm giving you guys a few moments for us to get started. So for everyone who's joining in, I'm with Lashawn Harris. We're going to get started in about one more minute. It's 7:02 right now. Lashawn is a mental health professional, and we are about to talk about just some of the basics of mental health. Lashawn, if you haven't put your phone on Do Not Disturb, so that way if someone calls or texts us, it won't drop us out.
Okay. I think I did it right. I too.
Yeah, hopefully mine is on the right setting too, because I know sometimes if it's on lock, then it'll automatically do it. But if you're on the phone, sometimes it'll still go through. So
I think the biggest thing, I had to make sure that I click it for my favorites, because you know if you put on Do Not Disturb in your favorites, it still rings.
You're so right.
So,
we may be getting some phone calls. Hopefully not, you guys. Hopefully y'all don't call me and you guys see that I'm on this FaceTime Live with Lashawn.
Hey, JB.
Okay. All right, guys. So it is 7:04 now. So everyone that's joined in, just want to say, hey, this is our first time doing one of many sessions with Lashawn. For you guys who don't know, I went to Eastern Shore with her. Hawk Pride. Catch it. I went to University of Maryland, Eastern Shore with her, and we recently connected, and we are going to be doing a series of mental health awareness videos, diving into some topics, things that you may be wondering, things that you may not even know was on the scope. I mean, this lady is just awesome. You know what? Let me just get into a quick brief bio about her. So, Lashawn is a graduate of Mercer University School of Medicine. She earned her master's of marriage and family therapy, and she has experience in mental health that begins in 2001. She interned 2011. Yeah, 2011. She started off as an intern working with individuals with dual diagnosis of substance abuse and psychosis. Currently, she's serving by working with veterans and their families, treating trauma, depression, anxiety, and social ideation. Did I say that correctly?
Suicidal ideation. So
suicidal ideation.
Yeah.
Okay. That. Gotcha. Okay. So you guys, we are going to dive right on in. Lashawn, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you in our network of resources for this topic, because as you guys know, I'm not a mental health professional, but it is my goal to help bridge that gap between mental health professionals and those who need their services. So today is just going to be a quick introduction onto what's mental health, just some basic questions surrounding the topic. So Lashawn, let's get started. So tell us the definition. What is mental health?
Okay, so your mental health, when we say mental health, we are speaking of your psychological wellness as well as your emotional wellness. I know a lot of times when people think emotional, they think feelings. And automatically when I think of feelings, we put our hand to our heart, we think about feelings. But it is actually your brain that processes that emotion. And what you feel is secondary to after your brain does its work. So it's all underneath mental health. Now, your psychological health and your emotional health will have a direct impact on your behaviors. So when we treat mental health, we go ahead and we even though it's outward, we go ahead and grasp behaviors, and it's the treatment of your psychological, emotional, or behavioral diagnosis.
Okay.
So that's mental health.
Okay. In a nutshell, right? So what are some common myths that surround mental health?
There's a lot of them. I think the one I hear the most is mental health can't touch me. My mama don't have mental health. My dad, great-great-grandmother, none of my cousins, not my aunt, not my uncle. And you do not have to be predisposed to mental health to have a mental health diagnosis. Everyday living, things that we go through, that's enough of a predisposition to give you, a mental health diagnosis. I think that's the most common one. I think there was something else that usually comes up. That if you have a mental health diagnosis, that like, you're crazy. People automatically think of mental health and they're like, oh, I'm not crazy. Like there's nothing. No. Like I said before, your mental health is your psychological and emotional wellness. We all should be tending to that.
I think that's very interesting that you said that a lot of people think that it's only genetics, because I guess I kind of thought that, like, it's only genetics when you hear about, especially extreme cases such as like schizophrenia or those, that type of things, especially addiction. I know addiction is genetics, but it's interesting that it can also just be something that predisposition. Yeah, like I know you mentioned earlier, like for example, for all my workaholics, lack of sleep, you said. Tell us how that can set you up for something.
So first off, I want to let you know that right now in the DSM-5 that's our diagnostic manual, what we use to show it to you. It's our Bible. Okay. Remember that mental health, it's a medical diagnosis, just as important as your physical health. Right now, there's currently 297 mental health diagnoses. And you guys are probably like, wait, what? No, there's 297. So to feel that none of those 297 could touch you?
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to your wellness, and this is why we're pushing wellness, right? That's your sleep hygiene. That's your self-care. Being overworked. And, we live in our generation. We're workaholics. We do it all. Yeah. And we have to know our limits. If we are overworking ourselves, if we are overstressed, if we aren't getting enough sleep, well, guess what? You are prone to have psychosis. You can wake up the next morning and deal with hallucinations. It's lack of sleep. Mental health does not discriminate, and it could touch anyone. So,
you guys, so it's what I'm hearing, and I think it's you're confirming for me too the importance of self-care.
Absolutely.
I know we've been taught to work, but sometimes we have to make sure that we are not working ourselves too hard, that we are tackling things, you know, the right way. For example, like dealing with a breakup or stress at the job or, you know, stress at work. Like stress is a real thing. Like I don't think people realize how severe stress can be and what that can do to you in itself. Like that can cause anxiety or depression.
And I seen someone on here,
Mm-hmm.
I just seen them, environmental triggers in genes, and you are absolutely right. Environmental factors is something that most people, they don't even think about, you know.
Mm-hmm. And what is that for people who don't know what environmental factors are?
Okay, so it can be, we're getting a lot of statements.
Yeah, we're going to get to you guys' questions.
We're going to get to it. But environmental factors, okay, can be, you know, what's going on around you, the household you're living in, the community you live in, living in poverty, malnutrition, you know, not having enough to eat correctly. You know, think of Maslow and his structure of basic needs. I know everyone's not going to know what I'm speaking about when I say the name Maslow, but, you know, there's certain things that we all need to live well, to be well. And many of our basic needs is at the base of it, and it's the priority of the triangle. And that's, you know, shelter, food, clothing. If you have a lack of that, you are predisposed to, you know, having a mental illness.
Yeah.
Stress, work you mentioned, it can be anything.
Yeah, I think that's too leads us to a topic for another day too. Just, you know, especially with people who do live in poverty, you know, when you don't have those basic needs, how it can definitely trigger to other things.
Absolutely.
Before we dive into this next, let me see if this goes with, isn't it true that trauma can cause you to suffer from a trigger emotionally that can cause one to suffer a psychology break that affects the remainder of your day?
Okay, so let me just read that again. Isn't it true that trauma can cause you to suffer from a trigger emotionally that can cause one to suffer psychological break? So what I think you were trying to ask me is, all right, so many times we experience trauma, and trauma is defined to that person. And when I say that, I'm gonna give you an example. Two people can go through the exact same thing at the exact same time, and one of them walk out of there the same way they went in, and the other is completely distraught. Let's use a car accident as an example. And now this person can't get in the car again. They won't drive, but there was two people in the car. One okay, one is not. So we can't say it wasn't a traumatic event. It is based on that person. We all have our own limits. Another thing, we all have to accept that we all have our limits. What she goes through, it doesn't mean that I can go through the same thing and I'm be okay. You hear that a lot when people go through things. Oh, I went through the same thing. You're going to be fine. You can push through it. No, you don't know that person's limits.
Yeah.
Okay. So yes, you can go through something traumatic. Many times we move past it. You know, people believe moving past something is processing and getting over and healing, and it's not. It's suppression. So later on in life, listen. We're gonna try not to preach too much, because we're gonna definitely, like Lauren said, we're gonna dive in deeper later on. But this is just to give you guys like just an umbrella.
Put that in my notes.
To a number of series, yeah, you know. But yeah, so you can go through something traumatic, if you know it or not. Later on, you can be triggered by several things, and so many times of being triggered, yes, you can have a psychological break. That's when we hear people say, you know, having a meltdown, a psychotic break, dealing with psychosis. Not all mental illness, you know, come with psychosis. That's another myth people believe.
So what is psychosis? Because you've mentioned that a few times. For those who don't know, what is the definition of psychosis?
Oh, child.
If you had to put it in 1 or 2 sentences, yeah.
I have to be very mindful because I'm so used to speaking clinically.
Yeah.
I have to be very mindful, so I apologize before. So when we talk about psychosis, we're talking about when, oh God, when, all right, so know that mental health it's neurology, right?
Mm-hmm.
So your brain rewires after you experience traumatic events,
Mm-hmm.
let alone traumatic substance use, whatever it is. You know, your brain, every time you experience something, know that your brain is recording it, and
Mm-hmm.
it's changing.
Mm-hmm.
It's evolving. Going through so much trauma can lead and rewire your brain go basically haywire, and it's kind of like you're not you anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to say it's like no coming back from it. We teach people how to cope with these new
Mm-hmm.
and it can look like audio or visual hallucinations,
Okay.
disassociation, feeling like you're not in your body anymore.
Okay.
You literally have people who see themselves like they're an outward experience.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, we'll stop right there.
That's the best way. Okay. So she, for those who just joined in, she just described to us what the definition of psychosis was. Okay. So we just talked about what the definition of mental health is. We talked about some signs. No, yeah, we talked about what some common myths are. For those who maybe, oh, you know what? Hold on. I see another question. Let me see. How can we continue to promote the importance of mental health without giving labels or prescribing medicine? Oh, let's save that one. You want to save that one for the end, or you want to answer now?
We can save that for an end.
Okay, we'll save that one for the end. Okay, so like you mentioned, some common myths about mental illness. One of the main ones, it doesn't run in my family, but you can set yourself up to develop something, for example, by having a lack of sleep or not dealing with stressors, as you said, suppressing them. What are some ways that you can take care of yourself to help prevent developing something?
Definitely know your limits. Know
Mm-hmm.
your limits, and it's okay. Like, I think we have to be okay with saying that we're not okay.
Mm-hmm.
Saying that we, need help or we're unable to do something. Like, I can squeeze this in my schedule, but I probably shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Sleep hygiene we discussed earlier.
Mm-hmm.
And self-care. Whatever you do for self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Be, going to church, reading your Bible,
Mm-hmm.
reading a book, on one of your off days, shutting out from the outside world and taking care of you.
Yeah.
In your, in your space.
Yeah. Yeah. And not feeling guilty about it too.
No.
Oh my goodness.
Do not feel guilty about it.
I feel guilty.
So many people make you feel guilty about it.
Mm-hmm.
People exercise, they do yoga, they go for runs, they go on vacation. Take your vacation.
Mm-hmm.
Your job gives you vacation for a reason, okay? It's not a story. Take it. Anything that's going to promote you feeling at peace, you feeling grounded,
Mm-hmm.
you feeling okay. And I think the biggest one is having a sense of purpose.
Okay.
In our terms, we call it differentiation of self.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a Bowen term for anyone who wants to go ahead and Google. You can Google Bowen, but you can read on it. And a part of differentiating is knowing who you are, understanding who you are, knowing what you want, and finding a sense of purpose. And we find that people who are well-rounded in those areas are less likely to get out.
Yeah.
So
That makes sense.
Yeah.
And what about those, really quickly, people who may feel like they need to go to a therapist but concerned about money concerns? I know we're going to dive into this on another date about the myths behind therapy. But for those who may be watching this right now and may, be thinking, oh, I may want to talk to somebody. what's some resources that they can use?
So, one, know that you do not have to be in crisis to go to a therapist, okay? You can benefit from therapy at any time in your life, any stage in your life. If you're worried about financial, again, therapy and mental health, it's a medical diagnosis, so your insurance should take care of it. And you don't have to have a diagnosis per se to go to the okay.
Yeah.
There's a lot of times people come and they're dealing with adjustment things, some changes in their life, and okay, adjustment, we'll put it in there. But you can go. So insurance, and if you don't want to use insurance because you either don't have it or some people are wary. I know, especially people who are working professionals. I work in healthcare, so I see a lot of nurses, doctors, other therapists who don't want to use their insurance because it's like recorded. That's fine. You can pay out of pocket, and if you don't have enough money or you feel like it's an expense that you just can't pay for, therapy is expensive. I'm not gonna lie. For 45, you're charging a lot. There's something called sliding scale. Many offices use a sliding scale, and it's basically you pay out of pocket wherever you fit on in that scale. So you can pay as little as $1 for a second, and it all just depends on your income. But no, there's always a way. Don't stress about that. I would tell you to go ahead, walk through that door, and let the front desk deal with the money issue.
Gotcha.
All your insurance, let them share resources for you. There's many programs, and you may not know about it, but we do. And we do what we have to do to make sure that we can take care of you.
Okay. And so speaking of which, let's dive into our next topic. And for those who want to know what she just said about the sliding door, I will download this live and re-upload it to our IGTV and put the links in there. And she'll also have it on her page as well, too. So give us some time once this is over, and you'll be able to see the notes in our comments. So I'm going to jump into the next question. What are some signs and symptoms of common disorders? I know you mentioned that there's like over 200 classifications, but what are some things that I guess you can say are common, or especially within our age group? What are some disorders that are common that people may not realize that they may be dealing with?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm laughing at this question because I'm like, Lord, everything's common. But definitely we can go over ones that people usually hear about. And I think we hear about depression, anxiety all the time. But I think what we don't do is educate people what that is, and it's don't give psycho education enough. And that's one thing I always make sure I do with my clients, is always give them psychoeducation, give their family and friends. Because the more you know, you'll be able to identify it. So I'll dig a little deeper than like the generic. I'm going to try to. We'll start with anxiety.
Okay.
So know that there's several different types of anxiety, okay? So there's general anxiety disorder, which is what most people talk about when they say, oh, I have anxiety disorder. But there's also like panic disorder, suffering from the panic attacks, agoraphobia, fear of leaving your home. There's other phobias. People have real phobias. There's separation anxiety. That one we see a lot in children, and you can deal with separation anxiety as an adult. But for the purpose of this, we're just going to go ahead and kind of talk a little bit about general anxiety disorder. And try to talk about what it is not. So general anxiety disorder, it's something that is persistent for 6 months. I think that's the criteria. I don't want to tell you wrong. It has to be there like for 6 months. 6 months. And it's not just worry. And that's, I think, a major misconception. It's like, oh, you worry too much. It's over analyzing. It's questioning, self-doubt. It's it also manifests as OCD. Okay, so that's one thing people need to know. Anxiety can manifest itself as OCD, having to have structure in order to feel calm, to feel okay. Sometimes, you know, some people may have a to-do list and they didn't finish something on their to-do list, and they're kind of like, oh my goodness, and you're, what do you mean? Just do it tomorrow.
Right.
It's not that simple.
Yeah.
That one thing they were not able to do on their to-do list could literally throw off their whole week. They feel unsettled, nausea, and they get
it can get physical. I didn't know that.
Yes. So anxiety is also very physical. Physiological symptoms is what we say. So heart palpitations, problems, you know, breathing, numbness. A lot of times you're, you know, when we feel like our arms are going to sleep, you feel that tingling sensation. Yes, it's sweating. It's not being able to sleep, insomnia. Because your mind is going on and you just cannot sleep. So anxiety is something you just can't control. Yeah. It's easy to say, stop being anxious, stop worrying. Like, it's so much more than that. And just like any other medical diagnosis, you know, it's not easy to treat or to manage, right? So anxiety is so much more. Definitely the nausea, the sleep, inability to eat or eating too much. Another symptom. Not feeling like you can move on to the next thing without accomplishing the first. Yeah. Feeling not feeling worthy. Okay. Anxiety as well. I know some people be like, "Oh, is that depression?" No, it's actually it's anxiety as well. Okay. I can go on and on, but we're gonna stop right there.
Well, okay, yeah. And you just talked about the next one, depression. Yeah.
So depression.
Symptoms of that.
There are different kinds of depression as well. Depression, it has to go on for at least 2 years, but it doesn't need to be persistent. So you can deal with depression. Like, we have people who have like seasonal depression. You know, we have people who only get depression around the holidays. It's a trigger. Some symptoms or warning signs is lack of motivation, or decreased motivation, decreased interest in things, trouble sleeping, eating more or eating less, extreme weight loss or weight gain. Trying to see if I forgot anything. Weight loss, weight gain, irritability. That's actually one that you're going to find in anxiety as well, being irritable.
I see somebody just said anxiety can easily be mistaken for something as big as a heart attack when its initial presentation. Wow.
Yes, that is absolutely right. That is actually Crystal, my cousin. She's a physician assistant.
Wow.
She's absolutely right. It can feel like you're having a heart attack or sitting on your chest. Like, you know, you have a lot of physical symptoms. And that's why doctors tell you your mental health has a straight correlation to your physical health. Yeah. I worked in grief counseling at one point at a hospital, and I was in palliative and hospice care. I was the only therapist on the floor. And my role was to go around and spend time with everyone in there. And we would have our meetings, and it'd be myself, the therapist, we'll have the chaplain, you have the physician, and all the nurses. And one thing the doctor always used to ask me, Miss Harris, how are they mentally? Because if you aren't strong mentally, you can't do that next term of chemo. Yeah. We already know that how the outcome is gonna
be. Yeah.
So it is all one.
Yeah.
And I think people need to understand that. You know, sometimes you may be feeling symptoms and you may feel like, oh, I'm sick. And I promise you, many times, if not more than 50% of the time, it's a mental health issue. It's a emotional wellness issue.
Yeah.
And it's presenting itself like you're having, you know, physical symptoms.
Girl, let me tell you, this conversation right now you got my mind just thinking, because let me tell you, so for a lot of you guys who know, I left my government job about 2 months ago, and a big part of that I felt like was because of the emotional stress that place was giving me. And I mean, it was days I was waking up late, did not want to do anything, no motivation whatsoever. And ever since then, I mean, I've had my days, but it's like, oh my goodness, you just put on a whole new lens. And a lot of people don't, especially our age too, those who are working 9 to 5s but still pursuing being an entrepreneur, or, you know, especially if you're a creative working in a non-creative environment, or you're not fully in your passion, you have to make sure you take that time to take those self-help days, take those self-care days, because like you said, your mind is a very powerful tool. And if, you know, day after day after day, stressful, toxic environments, I really feel like that can lead to serious issues down the road if you know, keeping that cycle.
Absolutely. And, you know, that's a red flag right there. If you are on your way to work and you find yourself every day while you're getting ready for work dreading, all of a sudden you feel tired. You was up, you was good. All of a sudden I gotta go to work and I feel drained. Go ahead and start implementing some wellness things for yourself. That is a red flag right there that, you know, you are definitely dealing with some stress or some unhappiness. And, you know, situational things, yes, can be situational and bypass, or it can stay. It can stay there a little longer. And we don't want that that unhappy feeling, that, you know, not feeling fulfilled feeling for, you know, every time you go to work to turn into something that's like every single day.
Right. It's your norm.
It's not going to start feeling. Exactly.
Yeah.
So, definitely.
And so I want to ask you about the next, I guess you can say, kind of common disorder, PTSD.
Yep.
Can you dive into that one for us?
I can.
Some myths with that one.
Yeah, let's go ahead and go to these myths. So PTSD, it's common. Everyone watching may be like, it's not common. I don't know so many people with PTSD. Oh, they're just probably not diagnosed. But PTSD is so common. And one myth is that, I know a lot of times people talk about PTSD and they feel it's only in the military community. And as you stated before, you know, I work for the VA right now and I work with military. It is not. Anyone can have PTSD. And you don't have to. It's one of the criteria, but there's also another. You can either go through the traumatic experience yourself, you can witness it, or you can hear of it from a loved one or a friend. And you are being, you know, exposed to PTSD. So that one is more common than what people think. Living in a community where there is everyday violence, living in a community where we, you know, I mean,
we record everything
now. Yeah, I'm doing way better now, but I'll tell you, I used to watch the news in the morning and at night, and I felt like I couldn't start my day with it or without it. I can't watch the news anymore. Now, of course, I watch CNN because I work for the government. So I know what's going on. But seeing and hearing constantly, over and over, the things that are going on for other people can affect you. And what we call that is secondary trauma. Okay?
Y'all hear that? Secondary trauma. Write this down.
And, you know, we live in a digital world, and it's a beautiful thing, but it can also harm people. And I am very careful about the pages I follow. and who I allow to follow me on my personal page. Page obviously is not private, it's public, but we have to be careful. I know when things happen, we want to know what's going on with the world. We want to know what happened to John down the street. And we want to know. But in knowing, sometimes the news, and especially Instagram and Facebook, they show us way too much.
Yeah.
And I'm sure many of you have, seen videos flying of, circulating of someone being killed, and probably had trouble sleeping that night, or find yourself obsessing and researching. I'm going to use, and I'm going to use this as an example for myself. Nipsey Hussle, the video went on, and I found myself wanting, what happened? Yeah. I know better, but I'm also human. and then researching for days, what in the world happened, what's going on. That's not good, and having trouble sleeping or having dreams about something you done heard.
Yeah.
Anyone is exposed to secondary trauma, especially our people who are in, police officers, firefighters, doctors, therapists, we're definitely exposed to it because we're seeing things direct on, but you too are exposed to it just on social media. Yeah. So just be careful.
Especially with a lot of unarmed, African Americans getting killed. Like, I'm gonna be real. I freak out when I see a police officer behind me. Like, I know I didn't do anything wrong. Like, I would, but I legit have a panic attack. Like, oh my goodness, I do not want to become a hashtag. And it shouldn't be that way. And it's kind of, why do I feel this way? Like, why am I so scared for my life? Because I keep seeing, this type of stuff on social media. And it's so difficult to find that balance, because you do, like you said, you want to be informed about what's going on. But at the same time, you guys, if you have to turn it off, read it in a newspaper or read it in an online magazine, don't click the video. Know your limits, basically.
Yeah.
Know your boundaries.
Your limits. So PTSD is way more common than what people think. Like I said, we have so many people dealing with secondary trauma. That's not even, you have people dealing with their own trauma. And PTSD, what that looks like is it could be flashbacks, having dreams of having, whatever the issue is going on over and over. Anxiety. So anxiety is something that we find in PTSD too. So, we make sure we kind of dot our I's and cross our T's when diagnosing someone with PTSD. Isolation you're going to find in depression as well, just not wanting to be around people. Having triggers, and triggers can be as simple as a smell. Walking outside and smelling something familiar, that's going to bring you back to something that happened to you. So yeah, PTSD is a big one.
Yeah. So you guys, like she mentioned before, if you do find yourself connecting with some of these symptoms, she just went over symptoms for depression, anxiety, and PTSD. Like she mentioned, go see a therapist. Don't worry about the cost. Just go get in the door, and let the receptionist help you figure out how you can make it happen. And I believe there are some apps as well too that offer free help. Or I know NAMI is an excellent resource in reference to free help. They have hotlines. We're actually doing the walk this weekend for the NAMI Montgomery County. Super excited about that. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. Let's dive into our next question. Well, we kind of just talked about that. If you realize that something deeper is going on, what are some steps you can seek for yourself or for a loved one? For yourself, like we mentioned, find a therapist. But what if it's for your loved one? What if it's not for you? How can you get help for a loved one if you see some warning signs?
Yeah, so that one gets tricky, right? Because we can't force anyone to get help. And that person has to realize that there's something going on before they could even say, you know what, you're right. But if you see warning signs, if they're warning signs and you feel the person is a danger to themselves or others, then there's definitely, you know, resources out there. So you have the crisis line that you can call. They usually send people out, police and EMS, to do the evaluation. If you live in a state that have like, what do you call it? Mobile mental health teams.
Okay.
Google. Every state is different, and sometimes like different counties will have it, but others don't. I used to work in Clark County, Georgia before. That's in Athens, and we had a mental health mobile crisis team where we would just call them and they will come on scene. So now it's not police, it's not the ambulance. It's actually you know, clinical. You know, people who are able to assess, they know exactly what they're looking for. So a lot of times they're licensed clinical social workers and, you know, different positions. They come on the scene and they do an assessment. If the person is assessed to be a danger to themselves or others, you go ahead and bring them to the hospital willingly or unwillingly at that point.
Yeah. Maryland has one. I know Maryland does have that. Yeah. I know. I think Baltimore County for sure.
Okay, I really feel like everyone needs to have it. Either every state and every county needs to have it, or we need to make sure that all of our police departments are trained on mental health.
Girl,
I know Clark
today too.
And not everyone is. I mean, I know Clark County Police Department is because I've trained them before. So there's some, but not everyone. So they get on scene and they don't know what the hell they're doing. Or they don't know what to do. Or they don't know what they're looking at.
Gotcha.
They don't know what they're doing. They don't know what they're looking at. You know, it's a different world. But so yeah, that's one thing you could do. If you see any other signs and you just feel like, oh, they may be dealing with some anxiety or depression, talk to them about it. And really, I think the biggest thing, people who are going through things, some people feel like they have to listen to respond instead of just listen to really listen. Just for them, validate their feelings, you know, that it's their truth, it's their reality, it's something they're going through. Just be there, be a support for them, or for whatever resources you may find and share. Like, you know what, it wouldn't be a bad thing if maybe you talk to someone about it. Make sure you're always not being judged, you know, make sure you're coming from a not judgmental place. And you know, and definitely not dismissing. So just being a true support, really listening. Whatever resources you find, pass it on to them. Because again, they have to want it themselves. We can't just go grab someone and force them into treatment. No, that's not how it works. The only time we can force someone into treatment, like I said, if they're suicidal or homicidal, or if they're dealing with psychosis and we feel they're in danger to themselves or others. Plain and simple. So when it comes to any other, you know, symptoms, just talk to them about it. Share whatever, let them know it's okay to get help. You know, there's a misconception that therapy is all about medication. You're going to go to therapy, they just want to medicate you up.
Not true.
Not true at all. First off, a therapist cannot prescribe any medication. Not a clinical.
Who can?
Only a psychiatrist, only a doctor, or a psychiatric nurse. That's someone who's usually not an RN. God, my friend is gonna hurt me right now because. Yeah,
we'll put it in the notes.
We'll put it in
your heart.
Not an RN is the next level up. Nurse practitioner. There you go. Nurse practitioner. Okay. Or a psychiatric nurse, because they're working underneath someone, so they can sign for medication. But only a psychiatrist can. Now, therapists and clinical social workers. And when I say therapist, that's someone with a licensed marriage or family therapist, a licensed professional counselor. I believe they are able to diagnose at this point. I'm not sure. If not, it's just clinical social workers and LMFTs that are able to diagnose. We could diagnose and we could treat. But the medication, we can either work with your primary care physician, you do a disclosure, we work with them, let them know what we assess, and she or he can give you the medication, or we'll send you to a psychiatrist with our assessment, what we've been doing, plan for treatment. Hey, this is what's going on. Give another look at it, and they're prescribing medication. But we cannot prescribe medication. So when you come to talk to us, that's not our goal. Get you medicated. No.
So, what are some absolute no-nos when it comes to dealing with someone who does have a mental illness? If you do realize that something is going on with someone, what's something that you should absolutely not say to them?
Absolutely not say. Let's see. Get over it. You're living in the past. I went through it and I got through it. You'll be fine. Just anything dismissive. Like I said earlier, understanding that it's their experience, it's their reality. Their thoughts, their feelings, their beliefs, that is absolutely true and to them. Don't try to convince them any other. Like, that's their reality. So anything that's going to be dismissive, I'd say that's the biggest one. Saying I understand or I get it.
Because you may not.
And, I think I talk for many, clinicians, saying that, like, that's something I never say in therapy. Tell people, I hear you. I but saying I understand, I get it. No, you don't get it. That happened to you. And just because it's something similar, an example I talked about earlier about the car accident, two people being in a car accident, experiencing the same thing, but one coming out not okay, one, psychologically being okay, one psychologically not being okay. Just because you went through something similar does not mean you get it or you understand. Again, you don't know their limits. So those are the suggestions I would give. And do not say anything dismissive, and definitely, it may sound nice to you, but it can do more damage than good.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, you guys, we want to open it up for some Q&As. Type any questions you have in the comments. I'm going to go through some of the comments you guys left so far, just to make sure we answered everything for you guys. Let me see. I did see someone ask when introverted and what do you call it? Isolating themselves. How do you determine that difference?
Well, introverts, it's a preference of maybe wanting to spend more time with yourself, but isolation is pretty extreme. It's like cutting yourself off from everything, everyone, feeling like, and a lot of times they isolate themselves in the space, in their home, in the bedroom. And understand the reason for that is because they're trying to minimize their triggers. And though we understand that they're doing something to help them, it's a negative coping skill. So isolation is a negative coping skill. They're trying to make themselves feel better. If I don't have to be around my mother, then I won't, feel sad every time, or if I don't go outside, I won't hear the noise of the cars driving by, so I won't be triggered. So isolation is an avoidance, but it's based on coping. Okay.
Gotcha.
Now, when someone is just an introvert, it has nothing to do with you coping. That's just your personality. I'm not trying to make myself feel better. I'm not trying to cope with anything. So that's the difference.
Okay. Someone else asked us, how can we continue to promote the importance of mental health without giving labels or prescribing medicine?
I was trying to find that question. Read it again.
It's all the way at the top. How can we continue to promote the importance of mental health without giving labels or prescribing medications?
Well, I think first off, we have to make sure people understand what mental health is when we say mental health. And not all mental health diagnoses need medication management. And I think if we start normalizing mental health and understanding that it's just your psychological and emotional wellness, You know, it's just your wellness. And it's something that's so normal. Then when people hear the word mental health, they won't think of something so harsh or so, you know, scary, or, you know, it's like taboo. So if we keep having this conversation and normalizing mental health as just as your physical health, your emotional health, it's all in one.
Yeah.
They all play a role in how you
Function.
It's, you know, it's you need all three of them, okay? It's not just one or the other. And I think for so long people try to separate mental health from your physical health, and you know, it was over here, and all the other health things that we talk about is important, but mental health is over here because that's only for crazy people. And that's not true. If you have a brain, you need to take care of that brain.
Gotcha. Okay, and we have about 8 more minutes before IG Live cuts us off, because I believe the max is an hour, and I see about 3 more questions on here. So the next one, do you find that cultural beliefs are still a huge deciding factor in seeking help from a mental health professional?
Absolutely. And myself and Lauren, we spoke about this earlier, and this is something we're going to talk about in another session with you guys.
Yeah,
but
dive deep.
Absolutely. Cultural beliefs, you know, different people from different regions believe different things. And you know, that's something we study in school a lot. And there's things that I have learned not only by being in the classroom behind the desk, but while practicing. I'm learning every single day, just with my direct experience with people. You know, it's helped me change my perspectives about different things, change my beliefs. It's colored my thinking. And absolutely, that is a huge topic. Please tune into our next one. And
we're going to talk about that one, because woo child. Listening. I'm not even gonna start because we got about 6 more minutes left. Okay. So this one isn't a question, it's more so a comment from Thomas Be Trusted. Hey Thomas. He said, I shared my bipolar healing story. Facing the fear of being labeled was so liberating and healing. The stigma can be as bad as the illness itself. He said, gotta go, but thanks for doing this. Let's collab soon. Oh, Thomas, thank you so much for sharing that with us, and glad that you sharing your story was healing for you, and I'm sure it'll be healing for a lot of other people as well. And let me see. I saw one more comment at the bottom. Girl, this is really good. I'm so happy we did this. Okay, material.
Oh, okay, good reading materials on mental illness. Oh, what are good?
Bye, Flo.
I don't want to sit here and give you all these clinical book lists, but I will go ahead and there are some great books out there, and there's some in my like Amazon shopping cart. So what I'll do, like Lauren said, this is going to be saved underneath Instagram TV. I will send a link. That way you guys can see kind of like just a list of material, resources. So we'll have that up for you.
Okay.
Good.
Perfect. Well, all right, you guys. So, Lashawn, thank you so much, girl.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited for the material we are about to put out. Just spreading the word on what mental health is, debunking any taboo that's surrounded, because like I said, our goal is definitely to make people comfortable with speaking about it. Just how you go get a physical, you have to make sure that your mind is healthy and strong too. Someone said The Body Keeps the Score. Great book. Okay,
it's a good book.
I haven't heard of that
Thank
one.
you for that, Thomas. It is a good book.
Okay.
So we'll definitely have a list. Thank you, everyone, for
thank you guys.
Thank you so much for having me. I can't wait for the next one. If you guys have any more questions, you can email me. You can DM me. If you need help finding resources, I will try my best to help you find resources in your location. As ethically, that is my job. That's what I'm supposed to do. Put, connect you guys to resources. Thank you.
And for those who are in the Maryland area, if you do want to join me Saturday, April 27th, the Montgomery County chapter of NAMI will be having a walk. I posted information on my page. If you can't join us and you want to donate to the cause, as you see, this is something that affects all of us. All donations are welcome and appreciated. And all right, we're going to log on off now. I'll talk to you
Bye,
later,
guys.
guys.
Bye. No problem. Thank you.
Bye, guys. Okay, let me make sure I end this correctly.